Hey guys, Cousin Richard here, back again to help you learn real estate better. And today, one of the most popular questions I get asked in my direct messages is, hey Richard, I'm just getting started in real estate. How do I buy my first investment property? Well, it's a really good question, and it has a couple of different sections that we're gonna break down. And in the end of this video, I'm gonna talk about how I also bought my first investment property, just to help you out a little bit more. So, the first section that we're going to cover today is understanding your finances and whether you have enough money or you don't have enough money to buy your first investment. Number two, we're going to talk about picking a strategy that works and that can give you the formula of risk versus reward. And then the last, which really isn't a section, but it's just one of my favorites, is making sure that you either like or subscribe to this video channel so you can get access as we upload the content immediately, giving you a competitive advantage. All right, so number one is understanding your finances. And understanding your finances can be complex or it can be simple. I'm a simple guy. I love simplicity in my finances, so I do things with organization, structure, and thought. Now, not everybody's like that. So we're going to try to help you break this down into a digestible way that's going to work for you. You need to look at life in the same way that when I started, I looked at it, with abundance. Abundance being that what you're making today is only what your mind and the reality that you are enclosed in is allowing you to benefit from. But the moment that you lift this reality from over your head, you're going to see so much more abundance in life. But here's the challenge. You all day are blinded by the working life that you're in, this 9-to-5 hustle. You need to now figure a way to not just monetize in your 9-to-5 life, but you also need to monetize in your after hours awake life. And then eventually you're gonna need to figure a way to monetize after that in your sleeping life. So there's 3 different lives that you're gonna be monetizing off of in order for you to make more money, okay? Very, very important, because if you don't monetize in all 3, you're never going to see the results happen at the pace that you want them to be. So in these 3 lives, this is the transition. If you don't have any money today and you are trying to buy real estate, the first step is learning how to make more money. Start a service business. Do something that makes money immediately. Don't do something that has delayed money, because when you go and, let's say, build an application and then you invest all this money into it and then it doesn't work out, or it takes 2 or 3 years to recover that money, there is a cost factor, but then there's also an opportunity cost factor that you're losing. And real estate is only getting more expensive. Interest rates are only continuously rising. The cost of everything in life is also rising. So you putting money into something that doesn't make immediate money back is a complication, and it will delay you, and it's also much, much riskier. So you want to start with something similar to like what Warren Buffett did, where he started delivering newspapers, already using an existing product and just provided a service around it. So it's the same thing you want to do. So on the weekends, in your spare time, paint houses, cut grass, do service-based work for people. There are so many people out there that need help doing something that they either can't do or don't want to do. And you have the potential to do it for them and make money. So if right now, for example, you have a 9-to-5 life, and you start off with the weekends monetizing an additional, let's say, $500 a month, that's an additional $2,000 a month. In 1 year, you could have saved up at least $25,000 just off your side hustle. Now, imagine if you reinvested some of that money into having a nice landing page or better equipment or hiring a worker that helps you. Now you can scale that from making simply $25,000 a year to now making $50,000 a year or $100,000 a year, right? Almost in turn replacing your 9-to-5 job. But you don't want to replace it just yet. Now, this is what I mean. You want to take your 9-to-5 job and you want to add in your side hustle money, and if you can combine those two, that is where you will now buy real estate. So very important for you to follow this formula, because following this formula will lead to better, more consistent monetization over longer periods of time, giving you financial stability and allowing you to transition away from working so much to actually working much less over time. If you simply rely on your 9 to 5 and save money, you're never going to get there. It's going to take you way too long. And if you invest all your money into your side hustle, then you may have too much risk, too much exposure in your business. You want to be using the monies you make from your business and the money you make from your 9 to 5 job, combine those two, put it into real estate. That's where now you're making money in your 9 to 5, you're making money after hours, and you're making money while you sleep. Isn't that beautiful? It's beautiful. Real estate is amazing, all right? Once you have figured out this formula and you're able to get out of this rat race, you are now freed up from all the time that you are committing to that employer, and now you're simply working for yourself and supporting your real estate endeavor. If you have enough money, or if you believe that you have enough money, then you want to have at least a 20% down into your real estate investment. The reason why I say 20% is because this is how you avoid a couple costly things. PMI, which is private mortgage insurance. That is an insurance that the bank puts on your investment property if you go and buy the property with less than 20% down. Now, you don't want to do that because that money you're essentially giving away when it could have been cash flow in your pocket. The second thing is that you now have more risk. So your mortgage is going to be higher than what your actual property can rent for, which is a risk to you because you have PMI on top of it and you have a lesser equity amount in your property. Those two things are massive factors. So if you hear people telling you to buy properties with an FHA or a 3.5% down or a 3% down or even a zero money down, those are things that, yes, can you do them? Absolutely. Should you do them? No, because you're buying property and you are inherently buying risk on top of that, okay? Very important for you not to buy risk when you're buying an investment. You want to limit the amount of risk possible. You see, the best investors want to buy assets that don't have risk and actually go up in some form of monetization during bad cycles in the market. So you want to be able to have that same exact thing happen. All right, now that we understand our finances a bit better, let's talk about picking a strategy. Because a strategy can be pretty complicated unless you know exactly your timeline that you want to make money in. Now, for me, I chose an investment strategy that was going to be 10, 15, 20 years out because I looked at it as a compounding effect of value over time. I invest today, over time it becomes more and more. Eventually, after a 10, 15-year period, I'm 100% free. I have very, very little risk, and I've made a substantial amount of appreciative gains. These things are very important to me, but others may not necessarily want that type of style. They want to buy maybe with higher risk and immediate reward, and that is where the strategies start to differ. So let's break down the real estate fast track strategy just so you understand a little bit better. So when I first started, I bought properties in cash, and then I didn't use any leverage. I wasn't using the bank's money. And in not using the bank's money, I was having a very difficult time scaling because it takes a long time as an investor to save your own money instead of using the bank's money. The bank can give you money really fast. They can give it to you in 30 days, and you can then use that to go buy real estate quickly. But if you are using your own money, it can take you many, many years to go and save up the amount of money you need to buy the property in all cash. So that was a big mistake for me that I made, and it took me about 6 years to correct that. And then I decided I was going to go into this, what I know as the BRRRR strategy, right? Which is buying a property, rehabbing the property, renting the property out, refinancing the cash out of the new value, and then repeating the process all over again. But then I figured out some hacks around the BRRRR strategy that weren't actually being recommended. And I started to create this concept called the real estate fast track. And the real estate fast track has a few factors that the BRRRR concept doesn't have, which is that I leverage gentrification areas that are giving me faster appreciation growth. I am looking for opportunity zones that I can remove a lot of these capital gains taxes from my initial investment. I am buying single family properties that are zoned multifamily and converting them into multifamily houses. These concepts here are now giving me faster appreciation, much more cash flow, reducing my risk, and spreading out my value. Now, this is where I would highly recommend, if you're looking to buy a property and benefit from it extremely long term, but at the same time in the most immediate benefit as well through cash flow, then the BRRRR concept is a good place to start, but the real estate fast track is the better way to accelerate it and buy real estate at least in every 6-month interval. I wanted to buy as quickly as possible, so that's why I created the fast track. Now, there are other methods, like for example, fixing and flipping. Fixing and flipping is another great way to go into building capital, where you buy a house and then you fix it, then you flip it, right? And you sell the property fast and you get rid of it. Now, the only risk factor I would see here is that first, your timeline gets delayed on your construction, on the rehab. The property doesn't sell for the value that you want to sell it for. The market changes on you while you still own the property. You have debt on that property if you didn't buy it with an all cash option. See, these are factors that you are taking on mass amount of risk with, whereas buying long term, you're not really taking on that risk, right? Because you're looking at it from the standpoint of, I'm going to own this for 20 years, so I don't have to really worry too much. But still, nonetheless, a lot of people do it. Very lucrative if you want to go and fix and flip and take on immediate risk, but take on a good amount of reward. Remember, there are capital gains taxes on fixing and flipping if you're going to buy, rehab, and sell, so just keep that in mind. All right, now FHA loans are only good, in my opinion, when you are buying a multifamily property and you're going to live inside one unit for about a year. And then you get out of that unit and you rent it out to somebody else. The intentions are that property eventually is going to be used as an investment. You don't live in the property long term. That's not what you want, because you're sacrificing cash flow by living in that unit. You see, if that unit right now, if you have 2 units, right? So you have a duplex and one unit is, let's just call it, this unit is $1,000 a month, and your other unit is another $1,000 a month, but your mortgage is $1,500 a month, right? So if you are living in one of these units, you are sacrificing the additional cash flow that somebody else would have been paying you, right? They would have been giving you $1,000, the other guy would have been giving you another $1,000, and you would have been able to pay for all of the exact cost per month that the property needs. But because you live in the unit, you actually have to come out of pocket a little bit on this property, right? So you don't want to stay there long term. You want to get out as quickly as possible. And that means if you want to use an FHA loan to get in at a very low amount of capital invested, then go for it. But know that you're running the risk that if the market comes down, you could be over leveraged, your payment could be too high, you can get stuck in that property for a longer time than what you anticipated. You still have PMI on this property, and you know, you're living kind of like a tenant, right? And that's not fun, because now you're the landlord. If your tenant inside of the other unit wants to hit you up at 12 midnight because there's a clogged toilet, they can do that because you're the landlord, right? So it might not be as convenient as what you want it to be. So keep that in mind. But anything else using an FHA, so anything else whatsoever, if you're going to use an FHA to buy a property, whether it be a single family, or whether it be a condo, or whether it be a townhome, it is a terrible investment. It is actually not an investment considered by the banks. It is called a liability, and you are now buying off of speculation. You're buying off of being attached to other units and hoping that the building that you're in is going to be fully occupied. There are a lot of factors that can be presented when you are using FHA and over leveraging yourself. So avoid at all costs using an FHA unless you're using the strategy that I mentioned, which is investing in a multifamily, living in one unit, using FHA for the entirety of the purchase, and then refinancing that property out so that you can have a 30-year conventional fixed rate with an 80-20 loan option, all right? So now we covered a lot of the fundamentals of risk versus reward. We covered our finances. So let's talk about my deal. My first deal, I bought in an auction, right? And that auction was not available for me. I was not able to get into the auction and bid on the property. There was attorneys that I bought it secondhand from after they bought it at the auction. So you want to look to buy properties that are coming out of these auctions literally 1 or 2 days after they were acquired, because they're getting acquired at a very, very low rate, but they also have so much rehab, or maybe they have some form of lien or debt that maybe the person that bought it didn't know about, or they don't really want to hold on to for very long and they just want to flip it on the open market. So try to get in contact with as many attorneys as you can, try to get in contact with as many real estate investors as you can, and as many real estate professionals as you can, because these individuals all know about these types of deals and they know about these auctions. And the more that you have of them, the more deals you will have in general, right? So very important for you to make those connections. So once I bought my first real estate investment, I invested into that property about $45,000. Now, that improved the value of the property. Remember, I didn't use debt to acquire this property, so I should have at least put 20% down, 25% down, but I didn't, right? What I looked for was a property that was completely destroyed, just coming out of an auction. There was going to be value add potential, that I can give value to the property. So then the value that it raised to was higher than the value that I purchased it for, right? This is what I wanted to create. I wanted to create as much value in the deal as possible. Now, given that this deal was a unique deal because it was zoned multifamily, but a single family residence was located on the lot. So I converted that property to a triplex, making 3 doors and monetizing 3 different checks off the property. When I first started with this property, it gave me a total of $3,250 a month. So then I put $45,000 worth of work into it. And after the $45,000 worth of work, I was able to now get a value of, after many years, $725,000 in value and $5,300 a month in rent, right? This is where this property is today. These are the numbers, and this is how, with a long-term strategy, you can create exponential compounded value, and that will help you in your next purchase. So what did we learn today? We learned that you need to first understand your finances and how to monetize in your 3 lives. Your second is making sure that you pick the right strategy that gives you the equal balance of risk and reward. And if in most cases you can benefit from more reward and less risk, even better. And number 3 is making sure that you're looking for diamonds that are giving you the opportunity to see the long-term potential value that you want and you would love to benefit from with real estate wealth creation. All right, so if you have any questions on any of the sections that we talked about in this video today, go ahead and leave a comment down below and I will answer it for you. And if you have any topics that you want me to cover in the next videos, go ahead and also leave them in the comments section as well, and I will get to them. All right, guys, I'll see you soon.